head, and there he goes. Abyss gonna clean him up.
Oh, goes down. Everyone's just gonna line up here for Lazzy. He's gonna find himself the Quadra. Give it to him. Pentakill.
Priestley with the quad feed.
Gets the ace. Available, just spin to win all over.
That game was insane.
Hello everybody, welcome to some St. Clair Saints Overwatch action. I'm John Bill Bangs Zuma, joined by Mr. Danners himself, and we were saying, I haven't been casted with you in a long time, but it feels good to be back on the stage with you, and it feels like we never lost any time at all.
I definitely appreciate it. Yeah, it's been at least like a year, if not longer, since we've gotten the opportunity to cast together. Normally I'm behind the scenes and whatnot, but the opportunity has arisen, as we do now have, of course, St. Clair Saints, St. Clair College going up against the Ottawa University of Kansas, or aka the Braves in this situation here, NECC. The League of Play, best of 3, but no matter what, we play all 3 games.
Yeah, so St. Clair is sitting at 2-2 in this league right now. Their last couple games have looked pretty rough. They did lose against Northwood as well as Northeastern. But I mean, we're talking about like Nines is not on the team anymore. We do have Ubel slotting in there. So I think it is kind of a transition period for St. Clair here, trying to rebuild your team, trying to find a good spot for Ubel in the lineup. So, I mean, obviously, when you're going through something like that, you are probably going to struggle a bit. But definitely now an opponent that is definitely beatable for them. And I think hopefully, if they can come up with a win here, it'll look a lot better for them.
Like, there's such a weird spot here for the Saints because, yeah, they had to make the roster changes like we were mentioning, and it was going up against 2 teams that were either, or they were top of, essentially, of their respective league groups. Of course, Northwood, basically one of the toughest challenges that you could have as a first game on the squad. And then for Northeastern during NECC on Monday, that was one of the leaders of the group as well. So it's like, yeah, you get put into the roster and you instantly have yourselves some tough challenges. That being said, though, we have ourselves another tough challenge here. Yes, Ottawa University of Kansas is currently sitting at a 1-3 record, but do not sleep on them, because this very well could turn. And we've seen Ottawa University, Kansas, and other titles, I think especially Call of Duty to be specific, like actually have completely sick rosters. So who knows, this Overwatch squad might be the same.
Yeah, so they won CCL. But
yeah,
this is Overwatch, different game, different players, and it'll be interesting to see how they're going to fare against this St. Clair roster. We see actually both teams going for this Symmetra TP onto site. They are going to get there at exactly the same time. Some fighting will begin. A wall going to come up here, so site will be taken control of by St. Clair to start us off.
Yeah, this is just such a tight corridor here. Each of those Reinhardt hammer swings will be absolutely devastating. And Cheesy on the Symmetra going to find the first one, and it's just a matter of time before they kind of separate the rest of this Ottawa University squad out. Tyrell is on the opposite end of basically his entire team. Right along with Lump here for a second. Sure, the May Ice is kind of nice in this situation, however, not quite nice enough here. Sewer going to be going down on the D.Va, and the tank line has been completely shattered here for Ottawa University of Kansas. That's going to give Saints the first capture here on this point.
Yeah, I think importantly here, you look at Cheesy compared to Simplistic and the ult percentage there. You can see how much damage Cheesy was getting off in that fight compared to the Symmetra on the other side, and it just seems like they got control of that point, and once you got those turrets down, definitely was able to hold control of that. Wouldn't allow them to get past those side gates, and they are going to try and come from the far right side here and attack, but they are going to be spotted out. So they're going to be waiting here for just a second. That's going to be an ult coming out of the side of St. Clair to try and hold him back in this corner, and it's doing pretty well so far.
Okay, that's a nice little shatter coming out here from Apostle. Just going to clean them right up in the corridor. Exactly what you want to see. Nice, quick sweep. Saints looking absolutely fantastic to start things off here. As soon as they've gotten this first capture point, they haven't let go. About halfway to winning this first round.
Yeah, this site is notoriously hard to take back because it's so hard. You only really have 2 good entry points you can come into for the team that's trying to regain control of the site. So you really have to force yourself in it, and it's so easy to just rotate over from one choke point to the other. We are going to see a push here on site. It's going to be a shatter coming down, and that's going to cause devastation for St. Clair, but a wall is going to be up, so they will have some defense against Arjuk. Going to get the Reinhardt, who went in a little too hard after that shatter. Ubel going to clean up Simplistic, and again, St. Clair just win this fight very cleanly.
Okay, Cheesy just saved that entire fight. When we took a look at the shatter there from Tyrell, 5 members of the Saints were stunned and caught up. The only one who wasn't was Cheesy. Had that Symmetra wall, put it right across, so I think only one person on the side of the Saints are really getting damaged. They're able to heal them up nice and quick, and they're able to somehow hang on to that, even though it seemed like the resources were in the favor of Ottawa University. So they have probably one more attack to try and get this back.
There are 3 ults available for St. Clair, as well as this Baptiste ult coming up very soon. That's going to be self-destruct coming up from St. Clair. It's going to find a shatter as well. Arjunk going to get lumped there, and Apostle is going to get one with the Fire Strike. Arjunk will take out Toki, and it seems like St. Clair will be able to clean up the site pretty well. And I mean, honestly, that entire site was really St. Clair's. There was not a point where I felt like there was even a semblance of control from University Kansas, and means St. Clair takes round number 1.
Jeez, that last fight there, poor Tyrell, he was kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. You either turn your back on Apostle, who's going to shatter you and the rest of the team, or you eat a Diva Bomb. Which poison, like pick your poison, which one do you want? He opted to block the bomb, got shattered, and the front tank line there for Ottawa. University of Kansas gets shut down before the fight even really gets the opportunity to get underway. So, like you're saying, very dominating, very controlled start here for St. Clair, 100-0. Let's see if they can find themselves another here to wrap up this first round.
Yeah, so we are going to see a swap here. We're actually going to get Cheesy on the McCree for this one. Interesting choice there. We are actually going to see, we were talking about how you will was playing DPS, so now he's switched to support. We're going to have Cheesy hopping onto this champion, but no, he's going to switch to the Reaper actually here for Simplistic. So a slight change in heroes here, and we'll see how it plays out as they push onto the point.
I mean, it is something that could very well mess up the Saints in this situation. The point-blank nature of this control point can really shred through tanks if the Saints are not careful. However, Saints definitely have a lot of firepower for themselves as well. Sewer barely going to be hanging on for dear life, but gets topped off by the rest of the squad, but Saints have the positioning.
Yeah, it looks like Baptiste has a good back here, and he actually has his ult up very soon available. And then the first kill on Tyrell, though, that tank line going to be severely weakened here to start us off. Cheesy going to get Simplistic with a nice flash bomb and that, or flashbang, and that's going to mean St. Clair will get a control at this point in just a second. They will route the rest of OUK off of this one, and they will be able to start again taking control of the site.
Yeah, taking right over nice and quickly here. Let's see what we got for resources. Basically, the Shatter will be around the corner. Cheesy's going to have that Cowboy ult in just a second as well, and then Arjunk with the wall ready to go to amplify a little bit of damage. Meanwhile, Kansas, they'll have the defensive sound barrier in just a second, but otherwise not a whole heck of a lot on the board for them.
Yeah, I'm looking for this Baptiste window to come through, as well as maybe a Deadeye for Cheesy, just to force them off this point very, very early. You get a lot of extra damage if you put the Deadeye through a window, so that's going to be a Maywall up and a Blizzard available for Available as well, but it's not going to matter because Postle's going to get 2 with that strike, and Arjunk cleaning up Tyrell means this push, again, is just going to be stalled before it can even be started.
Shredded down once again. I don't know how Apostle finds these. This is like the second game in 2 weeks that I've seen him muster up a double kill with the Flame Strike. So interesting enough, normally you don't really see that actually get eliminations. It's more so a poking tool than anything, just to get all charged. And they are just absolutely toying with the poor Diva on the side of Ottawa University, Kansas, and that just put a massive stagger to delay this next 6v6.
Yeah, I definitely think for Diva in that situation, you just have to run for the edge, because the problem there is she called in her mech, and then her mech got shredded, and she ended up being taken down regardless, right? But if you think about it, like, St. Clair got so much more ult charge just off of that Diva tankiness. So you're building up. You see now, there's the only person on St. Clair who doesn't have ult is going to be Arjunk. Everyone else does. That's going to be a Deadeye pulled out here. Going to try and find some heads. Not going to catch anyone, though. Shield is going to be shredded. That's going to mean St. Clair can use the rest of that ult. Blizzard going to do so much damage to you. Okay here, and they're going to be wiped. And yet again, St. Clair able to stop the push and get this one. Should be 100-0.
Absolutely beautiful stuff coming out there. With Cheesy having that the Cowboy ult, it just completely shredded the shield there for Tyrell. There was absolutely nothing they could do to even delay that Blizzard that came up from Available after the fact as well. It was just absolute open season for St. Clair, and they completely clobber Ottawa University of Kansas here in this first game. But Apostle is going to find himself to play the game. Not going to see it, unfortunately. Going to skip on through it. Unlucky indeed. But I thought I was watching Overwatch, not Call of Duty.
Yeah, I was going to say, it feels a lot like there wasn't really even a point where OUK had a chance to even try and even that game out. Like, on that first point, second point, they got 0% control at any point, and it felt like every fight, as soon as one person died, as soon as specifically Tyrell on that Reinhardt died really early in the fight, it meant that you have a D.Va, and D.Va doesn't really provide a ton of shields. She does have her own mini shield, but you kind of just get rolled in the back line, and once that happens, there's nothing really you can do about it. So I definitely think St. Clair played that really well. They layered their ults really well too, so I think right now it's got to feel good for St. Clair, and you feel like you're definitely, although they're only 1-0 in this series, I feel like it's definitely going to be a 3-0 in their favor.
And of course, like, shout out to the Saints for basically constantly making it so that every fight didn't feel fair.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of times with Baleable's ice walls, I think especially during that last one on the second point, we got a good glimpse of it as well, where they would dump everything into the Reinhardt, who is basically completely separated due to the wall. All the rest of the team is stuck inside the corridor, just blasting through the wall, trying to escape. But by the time they do, their main tank's already down, and then exactly like you said, all there is a D.Va. D.Va can absorb projectiles, sure, but that's about it. And the fight is already lost at 5v6 at that point there, and the Saints just like hold W and just go for it at that point, because as long as your shots are on point, you win that fight.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like when those shield changes did come through earlier in the year, where they reduced Reinhardt's shield so much, it meant that Mate Tactic was so much more viable, because if you can separate Reinhardt from his team, he has a very, very severely reduced shield. So you can shred him before his team can even break that wall. And once you lose that front line, you're just going to end up getting rolled. And Overwatch is such a game of snowballs. As soon as you end up winning that fight and getting one elimination, you're probably going to end up winning the rest of the fight and being able to take them all out. So I'm hoping we see an answer somehow out of OUK here, maybe a counter pick in the form of a different hero. Maybe we see something like an Echo or a Widow or a Far Mercy. But for right now, like, it was all St. Clair in that one.
I mentioned Widow, which of course our next map here that we're going to be going to is one we do not get to see very often here in competitive, and that is Numbani. This does allow for a lot of Widowmaker Hanzo play, possibly, so could be a little bit more sniper based. You could probably bring the Ash out as well. Of course, not necessarily a sniper, but a bolt action rifle might as well be a sniper, it feels like at times.
I mean, if you hit those headshots, I think it's a sniper.
Basically, at that point, right?
Yeah.
It's tons of damage and whatnot, but it should be interesting to say the least. Of course, hybrid, capture the point first, then push the cart as far as you possibly can. The objective for this next one, for those unaware. And with these long corridors, these long streets, with very minimal, like, buildings, you have a couple balconies that you can kind of play with, but otherwise, it's pretty narrow, pretty long streets here. Going to be a little bit scary. And I think, yeah, we're going to be seeing a little bit of a difference in terms of hero selection here, as we do see Ottawa University on the left-hand side this time by there. In the blue, Lump is going to be picking up the Ash. And sure enough, even on the support side of things, pick up the Ana. You can get away with it here on this map a little bit. And Saints going to be doing the same thing. You see Arjunk there with it. Cheesy going to be picking up the Hanzo. And it's going to be an interesting one, to say the least. Lots of different heroes.
Yeah, I definitely like the rotation here out of Ottawa University. They realized they were not having any success playing standard champions, or sorry, standard heroes.
The league is talking.
Yeah, definitely. So standard heroes were not working for them, so they're going for something a little bit more unorthodox. They were pulling out the Ana as well as the Ashe, but I think definitely are viable in their own right, but not the easiest heroes to play, and definitely against a team like this, where you have so many brawling things. You have the Tracer, you have the Winston. It's going to make it very interesting in how this Ashe wants to play, because I feel like it can definitely be exposed, but that's going to be first kill for Lump, so doing pretty well so far.
Yeah, we can see Toki here in the back line as well, just making sure to keep Tyrell alive on that Winston. Of course, there's not much you can do when you're purpled like that, though. Those Ana grenades just completely stop any sort of healing onto the target, but it does not matter. It looks like Toki's basically got Tyrell completely pocketed at this point. Just let the monkey charge on through. And sure enough, it's actually going to shut down the first attack here on the Saints, putting them away relatively quickly.
Yeah, this is a really, really good play there. Did get them the initial... Oh, looks like we might have a pause in the action here in a second.
We'll see. Yeah, sure enough, it is going to be a quick
Yeah.
reboot, it looks like. Of course, the first raid boss of competitive is actually making the lobby settings right, so
True.
fair enough
Very
in
true.
that regard. So we are going to do a little bit of a reboot, which, to be fair, at least it was only just the one attack.
Yeah.
It wasn't far enough into the game to warrant a problem. Like, if they would have captured the first point
Yeah.
and then rebooted, that could have caused some trouble, but...
It was just one time they stopped them, and you know, it was interesting to see, though. I want to talk about that hero selection in that we see the Echo coming through, and we see the Ashe coming through. And I mean, the Mercy Ana, I think, is an interesting choice, but I feel like against something like what St. Clair's bringing it, where they wanted to go super brawly, go for picks with the Diva Winston combo, I feel like you can definitely take advantage of this Ashe Ana, and it might not be something that they can consistently go for, because if you end up getting caught out, you're going to have a really, really rough time trying to escape from all this dive. You have the Tracer as well, so I think it's going to be really tough here for Ottawa University to try and escape this. But I mean, all credit to them. If they can, you know, defend well, if they can have this Mercy just hovering between the Ashe and this Echo, I think it'll be pretty good. But yeah, we're just going to have to wait a little bit longer for them to make sure the settings are proper.
Yeah, because at least, like, when we think of the support line, of course, we think of Mercy right away as, like, the stereotypical support where it's basically, I heal, I amplify, but if you jump on me, what do I do? Yeah. Thankfully for her, she could just jump away, especially if Tyrell on the Winston just kind of fly alongside him, but still very vulnerable. And then, I mean, trying to pick up Ana when you got Winstons and Divas and other characters, Tracers, like you were saying, just diving on top of you. There's a reason why, unless Ana is like super, super good right now in the current meta, you barely hardly ever see her. Yeah. And it's just very vulnerable. Similar situation to the Zenyatta, where if the opportunity works where you can bring the Ana, okay, they're amazing, but 9 times out of 10, there's just the counterplay is something that everybody's kind of rehearsed a little bit.
And I do think against this team comp specifically, Ana can be viable because the anti-healing aid is going to be so effective against the Brigitte, Winston, Diva combo, because a lot of the times they're going to want to roll together, get a lot of that AoE healing in, and even have that Ana nade for their own on top of it. So I think it can be viable, but again, it is a very, very hard hero to play when there's so much dive potential for St. Clair. And it seems like they're going to go for a similar comp looking at this next round. And I mean, obviously, they did end up doing pretty well in the minute or so that we watched, so why not roll with it again?
Yeah, third time looks like it's a charm here this time here for this matchup. So we'll have game 2 getting started in just a quick moment. Going to be keeping the same characters or same heroes for the most part here as of right now. G-Scale's going to be giving up the Diva for the first time in a long time to opt for the Zarya instead, which, to be fair, plopping those shields onto Apostle or whoever happens to be diving in, going to be absolutely valuable. And let's see how G-Scales does on this compared to the Diva. Because for the most part, G-Scales, it always feels like he has a rather quiet game. Not that he's doing anything wrong. Yeah. Just he normally on the Diva is just kind of like gobbling up projectiles, fires his Diva bomb, and we don't really see a whole heck of a lot else that really stands out. But
I say the only satisfying things you really have on Diva are a really good self-destruct and absorbing a whole bunch of ultimates people throw out. So I think that's really the star power of Diva, and it's pretty limited, but that's going to be a nice anti-nade actually onto Toki. So Toki's going to get taken down really early in this one. But Sir is going to trade back Apostle, so this is going to be 5v5 now. Definitely potentially to try and push onto site.
Yeah, with the Wayne tank down here for the Saints, this could be a little bit awkward. That being said, though, G-Scales is trying to kind of be the secondary off tank as he is, and just kind of eat up a little bit. And to be fair, they were able to gobble up both of the DPS players on the side of Ottawa University. So now, Beowable slowly but surely finding the rest of these eliminations. Tyrell is still here, but that's a lot of Saints on point, and you're purpled. You can't be healed. And Apostle's just going to run amok here on the point.
Yeah, the fact that Toki died so early in that one made it so much harder for them to try and hold that point, because when you don't have that healing, like, yeah, you saw even the problem too was that Beowable was holding this on a back and back aside. It's going to be Tracer battle here. We'll see if he gets taken out with Cheesy, but he's going to get Sir though. Like I was saying, you had Ana stuck in that back corner in that little room, and you know Toki had been taken out early, so you have essentially no healing on site. So you're trying to delay until your Mercy can get back, but I mean obviously St. Clair able to take that point and get enough control of it in time that there was nothing really they could do.
Yeah, now it's time to push the cart through these streets phase, and sometimes you'll see the occasional switch up for this spot. I know the standard solo queue pirate ship is sometimes a favorite here, but do not need to switch in this case here. Cheesy going to melt down the other Echo here. Hard jump from backline, find some damage as well as Apostle and G-Scales showing they have a bunch of damage too. They're not just for absorbing damage, find themselves on the kill feed as well. Available on this Tracer. This seems to, I don't know if it's just he's on absolute fire here today or what, but normally Available's Tracer is solid. But I'm seeing him on that kill feed so much more this game.
say his Tracer's been pretty decent, but I feel like he definitely hasn't been playing it as much because like it is a very situational hero to play. It's not necessarily something you can't just whip out. But when you're going for a team comp like this, where you have the brawling mentality, you have the Zarya to give you the shield, you have the Winston to dive in with you, it definitely is very viable. And we see Cheesy on a big flank on the back end here. They're going to have to be aware of this and to make him split their decision-making where they want to go.
I mean, we're going to see the Graviton in just a second here, especially if they all kind of stand in like that. That is going to be a massive grab. Going to get everybody all taken down. The purple on top of things there for Arjun as well. No healing for you this time by everybody on the side of Ottawa University except Simplistic, I think, has basically fallen, which means we're going to get those 2 points nice and quick, and we're going to be on the doorstep to point number 3.
Yeah, the problem is they're not running a Diva to try and absorb that Graviton, because if you're able to run a Diva into a Zarya, I feel like Zarya has very limited options into you. Like, yes, she can absorb all your damage with her shields, but if you don't have... Oh, that's going to be Echo change again. That's going to be a nice change there. Available going to get Toki as well on that Brigitte, and that's going to mean they will have a nice job on point here to be able to take this. And Nano also available. That's going to be Arjun throwing out the Nano, boosting people up, but that's going to be Simplistic actually taking out G-Scales, but it doesn't matter.
There we go.
They clean them all up, and St. Clair should be able to take this one.
Was that a Nano Brig? It might have.
It was a Nano Brig.
Okay.
It was a Nano Brig.
Whether that was intentional or not, it was super effective. That's going to be 3 points on the board here for St. Clair with a ton of time still in the bank. Ottawa University definitely have their work cut out here for them here in game number 2.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for me to see them take this one. They ended up with more time than they started with, so that's definitely a complete roll for St. Clair through that site. And I mean, we saw it in the very first one, you know, in the last game, they stopped that first push, but I felt like as soon as Toki got taken out early in that one, it was just kind of over. They couldn't stop the push, and once you lose that first point, I feel like second phase for defenders is very difficult because your spawn is so far back, so getting up to try and stop this push is so much more difficult. But if you look at phase 3, you know, St. Clair had ults available, really good Graviton, and I mean, a Nano Brigitte, which was, I mean, it's kind of a meme because it's a Nano Brigitte, but I mean, it worked. So
at least it isn't a boostio.
That's true. That's the real meme. That's what we're waiting to see, but unfortunately no Lucio in this game to watch. But how do you think St. Clair defends here, and how do you think the answer is going to be from OUK?
I mean, I like the slight switch up that they did here where now we have G-Scales back on the Diva, since it's going to be a lot of just like absorbing those projectiles once again to try and slow down any sort of ultimate gain. Although I did really like his Zarya. We saw, especially on that last fight, just the coordination with him and the rest of the squad made it so that he was always sitting there with 100 charge. And you basically surpassed DPS.
I would say you are the DPS.
Once you get to that point,
you are the
exactly.
DPS. But I was going to say, it might have actually been an answer because you're expecting a Zarya out of OUK here. So like I was saying, it could have been an answer for this predicted Zarya, but they end up going without a Zarya. So, I mean, kind of big braining there and able to predict what G-Skill's going to pull out. Ooh, Apostle going to get denied. There's no hopping up there for you. Unfortunately, you will have to go back down, but not going to get any point progress just yet. And Bailable on the flank here, it's going to cause a lot of disruption.
Like, honestly, nice shot there from Seward to be able to get that. And honestly, sick job there from Simplistic. Picking up the Torbjorn. So Tord's making some damage happen up in the front. Meanwhile, Simplistic is just looking for flanks, and they took out Bailable. And to be honest, this first point for Saints is falling aside.
Yeah, definitely Tracer getting taken out by Torb was really, really hard for St. Clair to cope with. And they lost one at the same time on site as well. So you're down to a 6v4 at that point. And once you get that high ground, especially if you have a character like Torb, I mean, you can just put your turret down, rain terror from the sky, and all you really need is just Reinhardt to sit on top of it, throw out his Fire Strike once in a while, and you should be able to get that point pretty easily.
I think you're completely right in regards to Saints predicting a more Zarya-based composition, because as soon as a bunch of the Saints ended up going down, we had at least 3 switches here. Available no longer on the Tracer, picking up the Cowboy instead. Apostle, no Winston, and we do have Jubal on the Lucio, as we do see a nano-boosted Reinhardt, the tried and true, but he's kind of low on health. He can't really make most of it in terms of damage. That being said, lost utility to go down, but that's a hell of a shatter coming out here from Tyrell, but that did get stunned up. The big boulder in Archunk barely keeping Cheesy alive, but does end up going down. It's Cheesy versus the world here, and honestly, Ottawa University of Kansas looking absolutely fantastic here on this attack.
Yeah, like I said, the second phase, extremely difficult to actually control. Your spawns are so far back. Once you lose one person, it feels like you can't really get back to that point in time. We're going to see OUK take another one, and with lots of time remaining, they could actually have more time remaining if they can successfully push this than St. Clair does.
Low key, if they really wanted to, they could all in this and probably get right to the doorstep with those 3 ults on deck here. We're going to see the Molten Core start things off right at the doorstep as well. People along the outside just trying to poke and prod where they can, but some of the tank lines do end up going down. Simplistic finds another GC, does end up falling. The flanking Lucio coming out here from Yubel, just trying to defend as much as possible, but it's just not happening. The Saints are actually falling rather significantly, and to be honest, like, Ottawa did the smart thing. They didn't all in. They kept their ultimates for the most part. They just used 2 at this point.
Yeah, double Deadeyes here for both teams. There's going to be a little bit of damage on Available, but he is going to survive here. The moment going to finally let go, but not going to do anything to that front line. Nice Ryan shield there, keeps him alive, but Lump gets Apostle there. That's going to be a lot of ults being used here. Lump going to find one, Sir going to find another, and St. Clair is just falling apart right now. They can't defend this push on site. Simplistic's turret going to find Bailable. That's going to be a Wrecking Ball at Apostle just to try and stall point, but that's not going to matter. And Ottawa University end up taking that one, both teams at about even, and we got another overtime here.
And it's interesting, it looks like they actually chopped the amount of time on the clock here. Yeah, instead of it being into like the 4-minute marks, they just kind of trim it down. So 2 minutes and 15 seconds in the bank here for Ottawa University, beating the time from St. Clair. And honestly, just the composition for Ottawa University right off the bat kind of got St. Clair off guard. And to be fair, in the streets phase and in the end game there, they just played that to perfection.
And I think for me too, looking at how they played that one, I think St. Clair really was not quite sure how they wanted to handle the comp. You saw, like you said, there was 3 switches that they pulled out as soon as they saw that it was not a Zarya based comp. But after those switches, you saw G-Scales switch onto the Zarya as well. And when you're switching out your hero so much like that, you're not able to build up ultimates. And I'm pretty sure I didn't see G-Scales get a single ultimate that entire time, because he was on the D.Va and then he didn't get his ultimate up and he swapped over to the Zarya, wasn't able to get grab up either. So when you have people like Lump, I'm pretty sure had 2 or 3 ults in that round. We had Sir with a couple as well. So if you don't have that ult economy available to you, you're not going to be able to take rounds. And we saw it because they had that ult economy available. They weren't switching off their comp, and it worked well for them. They were able to kind of just roll through all those points.
Yeah, I think at one point there, due to all those switches, it was like 4 ults in the bag for Ottawa, while Saints maybe had like 1 defensive ult, and that's about it. And that's a troublesome spot to be in. The 1 ult is not going to be able to save you most of the time. But now with the Saints back on the attack, Ottawa University basically going to use the same attack composition that they had, except Tyrell is going to be moving over to the Ariso to really like just try to fortify as best as possible up on the high ground.
Yeah, we actually have a switch onto Zenyatta from the Ana, which I think is very interesting. I thought the Ana was actually working pretty well for them, so I'm kind of surprised they swapped off it. That nade was very, very useful in these situations, especially because if you look now, the Zarya is going to be back for St. Clair, and they're going to have the Brigitte again, so not having that nade available is going to make it really tough for me to defend this one. But Sage making me eat my words and able to take out Yubel really early here.
And another one too, as Apostle does end up going down here, whether these just be the regular shots or it happens to be maybe some charged up alternate fires coming out here from Sage Mage, it's going to put St. Clair in a position where they actually are going to have maybe one more good fight, but this is a very awkward position. Half of the team is still basically in the attacking zone while they're waiting for their support and they're waiting for their main tank to get here. Thankfully for St. Clair, Ottawa being the bunkered composition, they actually opted not to charge in. They just held their position instead. But now our junk is down. This is going to be rough. Saints are going to have to 5-on-6 this.
G-Scales has max charge on this Zarya though, so he could go massive here in this final fight. 30 seconds left, and I think right now what you need is this is going to be available getting a pick. Bildo has to find something here, or we need to see Hanzo getting his ultimate available, because that's the only way you really get through this bunker comp. But Sage Mage takes out G-Scales, and G-Scales had max charge, and Lump going to take out Apostle. The tank line's gone, Arjunk's gone, and St. Clair's hopes for getting anything on this round are gone.
Not even a single tick unless they can manage to make something happen, like pull a rabbit out of the hat. And right now G-Scales trying to get back, but it's not going to be enough time. Where is Bailable? Hanging on by a thread. Was the only one anywhere near this. The Saints are not going to even get a tick on this attack. Beautiful defense there from the Ottawa University of Kansas.
There was just no answer from St. Clair. They couldn't get access to that bunker. They didn't have enough damage to push through it. And, I mean, you stick a Torp turret down, you stick an Orisa shield in front of it and just spam it out. You have a couple other things available to you as well. Specifically, I think there, the Sage Mage just popping off on that Zenyatta got more kills than the DPS did. So I think that was actually a really good pick. And when you put that much faith in your support and say, okay, like, we're putting you on the DPS support, you have to actually take people out. He did his job, and it meant that they definitely have a chance to take this one and tie us up at 1 apiece.
Yeah, in the first game, like the last second, or on the first attack rather for them, the last second switch on point 3 for Sage Mage on the Zen did have one really solid Transcendence that kept the tank line alive in the second part here on their first defense. Yeah, the fact they got those 2 picks was absolutely monumental in shutting down the Saints attack. They're going to keep the exact same thing. And honestly, they're from the Ottawa University of Kansas. I thought they actually screwed up a little bit. During that last attack, they actually started moving away from their bunker. They were losing their patience and they just wanted to get it done. But that being said, they still were able to clutch it up at the end. So fair enough in that regard. And it's forcing St. Clair now to really have to all in on this defense. Otherwise, it is game over as we see the Junkrat coming out here from Cheesy.
Yeah, it's a really good choice there. They're going to need something to bust through this bunker because it's been working so far for OUK so well, and you need an answer for it. And I think Junkrat provides a lot of DPS, especially with the Mercy available as well for Yubel. It can pump not only damage into this Ashe, but also into this Junkrat, so that bunker will be bye-bye in just 1 second. I think it'll make it a lot easier for St. Clair to handle this one. We'll see if they're able to make it work, because it's worked for the last couple rounds for them, so I wouldn't be surprised if it works again.
Yeah, I mean, with the side of this Junkrat here on the side of St. Clair, with the side of OU just constantly going through that corridor, this is exactly where Cheesy's Junkrat is going to shine. If Ottawa University of Kansas want to try and get a solid attack, I think they have to use the streets or take the long way around. That corridor through the building is just going to make Cheesy pop off.
Yeah, and I think the problem here, if you look at how OU is playing, is that they don't have any flankers. And when you're playing against a Junkrat, you need to have someone on the flank able to take out that threat before he gets that tire. And he has 85%, 95% now. He will have this tire available with still a minute remaining here. So he could pick up 2 ultimates in this round in just 2 minutes.
Going quickly here, got Bailable and Cheesy on basically 2 separate sides. The crossfire right now here for St. Clair is too much to deal with. Ottawa University going to probably fall again, but it's not without any casualty here for St. Clair. Thankfully, their U-Bowl right there switching off to the Mercy, kind of picking up more of the main healer role this time by, and going to bring the tank line back in there. Cheesy going to finish a job there, taking Sewer out with the Rip Tire. But that's 2 ultimates used to just kind of gather the scraps, which means that Ottawa University, they should have 2 ultimates on deck for the time this next one happens. It's going to be basically 2 versus 3 in regards to ults, and which team actually places it properly will determine this fight.
I think the problem, though, is if you look at OU, they don't have any DPS ults, and you don't have the Shatter available. That Shatter would have been huge for how they want to play this round, especially because they're coming from the underground. It would have cleared out that area really well, but that's going to be a bad window coming down as well. That's going to be so much damage. Transcendent's going to come through. A trade going to come through as well. Cheesy going to get taken down by Sage Mage. But a trade by Apostle means they're going to all in on this fight on
that
site.
Shatter,
a beautiful Shatter on site means they will be able to defend this for now. Debailable going to get one, but Tyrell going to get Yubel and Lump going to get Arja. It means that they'll actually take this one and can potentially bring us to 1-1.
Okay, OU, beautifully done. They really showed their expertise in a non-standardized composition. Honestly, throw the meta out the window. If you know how to play something, play it. And it's going to be play the game here for Sewer's Sigma. Is this at the very end, or which spot was this? We'll have to see. We see the Flux available, and sure enough, it was onto the support. It's going to get canceled out early, unfortunately, here, but this is the first time in a good while that we're seeing an NECC match go to game number 3, but actually matter to be a game number 3.
It's true. I was going to say, I got to say, though, Sage Mage in that match was incredible. And especially, he was the one who got Cheesy at the end there. Because you saw, Cheesy had the BAP window available to him. And he had 5 people in that little corridor. But he got maybe 1 or 2 shots off. Sage Mage hit him with a headshot, took him out. And that means they can push through without having to worry about that Junkrat spamming stuff through that window and making it impossible to push through. So I think all credit goes to Sage Mage there. He looked incredible in that Zenyatta. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him pull out in game 3.
Absolute game changer indeed, because yeah, completely agreed. Everything was set up there for Cheesy to pop off, but sometimes there's some things you just don't quite account for, and it's the support just popping off on DPS. And even when that Shatter came out for Apostle, because that knocks like 4 of them down, the Transcendence was right
Huge.
there to keep
Huge.
everybody topped off. So massive W there for the support line of OU, and a massive W for OU in general to bring this to a game number 3 with it being a 1-1 scoreline. I know going into this one, we were thinking like this was probably slightly favored into the pockets of St. Clair. Game 1 made it look like it was going to be heavily favored for St. Clair, but OU fighting back. This is what we like to see, and it's going to be ending on a map again that we don't get to see very often. Watch Point Gibraltar.
And I really think if you look back on it, the first game of the series, 100-0, 100-0 on both of those rounds, like St. Clair just schooled them in that first game. Like it was unbelievable. And even in the first half of that game, like St. Clair got all 3 points. They had 4.5 minutes remaining. You're thinking like this is just going to be a 2-0, 3-0, like no issues at all for St. Clair. But then they put on the comp with the Torbjorn, with the Zenyatta, and it completely turned the series around.
Yeah, honestly, Simplified needs a shout out there as well, because initially was kind of like playing the flanky DPS, was kind of like the echo in the sky that was just getting like shot out of this, just used for target practice, basically, like you're playing Duck Hunt or something like that. It was just constantly victimized up there in the skies. But as soon as they made the switch over to the Torb, especially, it seemed like Saints kind of underestimate how tanky Torb could actually get when all of his abilities are popped off. And they couldn't really deal with them, and he was still just doing out so much damage, whether it be from the shotgun itself that he has or from the turret in a different direction. Just beautifully done as we're getting ready for game number 3, the decider here for this NECC matchup, coming to Watch Point Gibraltar.
Yeah, I'm looking specifically for Bailable in this one because I feel like that Tracer just wasn't effective on the backline, wasn't able to take out, because when you're playing that flank DPS, something like a Zenyatta, something like a Torbjorn are heroes that you need to be able to take out solo. Like that is your whole job, is to at least be disruptive, but also to be able to take out those important healers and give your team an advantage in a fight. Because the thing with Torbjorn is, like, yeah, you can fight Torbjorn and distract them, but he has a turret going down. The turret's not going to be shooting you. It's shooting at the rest of your team. So if you're able to take out someone on the back line as a Tracer, that's when you make it a lot easier for your team to push on and take out that turret and kind of roll the other team. But I'm definitely looking for them to try and find an answer here for this comp. We are going to see Simplistic actually not thinking about the Torb in this one. And obviously hybrid Torb is a lot less useful on because it is such a mobile game mode. So, I mean, I'm kind of surprised though. And Sage Mage on the Ana, not at Zenyatta. I'm surprised, but again, it is hybrid. It is definitely a different mode and a different way to play. So we'll see how it works out for them.
And granted, here on this map as well, you can actually find yourself in some relatively safe havens up on the high ground, especially when you're on the defensive side of things. Yes, you have to deal with Cheesy just constantly peppering you, but at the same time, though, you can just kind of fire right back and just put the pressure right back onto him. So do see, First Blood is actually going to be going over to Soar on the Zarya, taking care of Yubel before the fight gets too far underway.
Nice thing about payload map is that he's going to be back in the fight. Yubel's going to be back very, very soon, so not too worried about that. As long as they can keep making progress here, it's not going to be too much of a worry for St. Clair. Seuss is getting pretty high up on that energy, though, so they are going to have to watch out. Graviton already at almost 70%, so he's been pushing that pretty hard and is able to have that up soon. And you see, although G-Scales is on this Diva, self-destruct not available for quite a while, so nice job by Lump. Is going to get Cheesy, though, high in the air, so that could mean disaster for St. Clair here.
Yeah, anybody on the ground here for the Saints seems to be like A-okay, but as of right now, between Lump and Sword, they've been absolutely able to tear through whoever takes to the skies, whether it be Apostle or Cheesy, whoever happens to be. Sword's on a double kill now, actually, taking care of both Apostle and Yubel as well. So they didn't even have to blow any ultimates for this. The Big Bang combo is right around the corner if they do want to pull it off. Of course, that being the grab into the Tracer Bomb. Nothing more valuable than how quickly you can charge up that Tracer Bomb, but then just being able to kind of get everybody all into a group with that Graviton. It'll be a combo I'm looking for this next fight.
Yeah, and you already have 3 ultimates available for Ottawa University here. St. Clair still struggling to find anything for themselves, so I definitely think Bailable going to have to find a big bomb here in order to turn this fight around, because as soon as the ults come out, I mean, 4 or 5 going to be available for Ottawa University sometime soon. I just feel like it's going to be hard, but that's going to be Simplistic. Finding Yubel with the bomb of his own, going to find Apostle as well. Lump going to find Bailable, and that means St. Clair has to turn around and restart this push again.
Yep, so like a rally and a pulse bomb, 2 ultimates that come up very quickly. Just going to be used here for the side of Ottawa University, hanging onto that Graviton. To be fair, nicely done. The resource management, it's like this is 2 different teams compared to what we saw in game number 1, now into game 2 and 3. Just absolutely coming in clutch here so far. Saints halfway to this first point, but they're almost down to a minute left, really.
Simplistic find Cheesy again, taking this pick on the Echo, and that's when you're playing as an Echo, you're flying high in the air. You're not expecting the Tracer to be able to actually take you down, but really well played. And I mean, you don't have a Mercy, and I think that's probably the issue for Cheesy as well. He doesn't have that direct healing, so he can't just spam out those shots in midair. He does have to actually fly back, and Arjunk has to hit him with those healing particles to actually save him. So there are going to be a lot of ults available for St. Clair here. 3 ults available for Ottawa University as well. We'll see how they all use. That's going to be Graviton coming down. Not going to catch very many people though. Meanwhile, Bandable is going to be having the bomb here, looking for a flank. Not going to find anyone though. And just a minute remaining. Going to see if Cheesy can somehow survive. Going to miss the sleep dart onto this monkey. He is rampaging all over St. Clair right now, doing a lot of damage to them, and wasting a lot of their time actually, because they still have to push this back on the site with only 45 seconds left.
Saints had 5 ults, and all of Ottawa University is still standing in this situation here. Simplistic is going to win the Tracer duel as well, which means with 35 seconds left on the clock, Ottawa University in prime position to try and get themselves a full hold, considering they just used the Pulse Bomb there again there from Simplistic, but that'll probably be up by the end of the fight. But Lump still has Bob, going to be fired off in just a second, does get into the action. And a little bit chaotic to say the least, but you can see one thing is for sure, and that's Ottawa University are absolutely popping off here on this defense.
They have absolutely torn apart St. Clair. St. Clair has looked like a completely different team than we saw in the first half of this game. Like, they it's like Simplistic gonna take him out with a punch, wins that 1v1 against Cheesy, and that means they're gonna get Wrecking Ball on site here. Apostle will be able to touch it, forces into an overtime. Will they be able to hold this though? He will be pushing back on his site here. No one taken down just yet, but a lot of charge for Sir here. Sir going to be able to control this fight however he wants to, and they're going to try and brawl this one out. Wrecking Ball staying on the site, staying alive for quite a while, but Lump going to take out Bailable. The Ash wins that Ash 1v1. Sir going to take out Ubel as well, but Apostle finally going to find one on the support, but Tyrell with the ult Bailable is going to clear everyone off this point. That's going to be a Nano. Zyra with the Graviton. G-Scales is in the wrong place. That's the center of death right there, and that's going to mean they will take nothing on this attacking push.
Absolute domination here from Ottawa University, not even letting them get past that halfway point really, just kind of underneath that little corridor, and holy smokes, just everything from ult resource management to just accuracy and winning these one-on-ones. Like, there's just so much going on right here. St. Clair, whatever confidence they had after game number 1 has been absolutely neutered away. Like, it's just completely rough. You even saw on the defensive side, or on the DPS side of things there from St. Clair, Bailable was doing the Tracer for the longest time. But I don't know if he's just feeling unconfident or what, but he like had Cheesy kind of pick that role up instead. And Cheesy got 1v1s by Simplistic as well. We were worried that Simplistic on the flanking DPS was going to be like maybe not a throw, but like a less effective version of himself. But honestly, right now, doing exactly what kind of job
he was the star of that. He got picks with his bombs. He got several picks without his bomb too. You saw he got a double on that promising push for St. Clair where they used 5 ultimates and got literally nothing for it. So if you look at how they're using these ultimates and how Simplistic is playing his role so well, I needed to see an answer from St. Clair, and I really feel like they stuck with that Tracer for too long. I think they needed to swap it out. It clearly wasn't working. Bailable just not getting any of the picks he needed to. And once that's happening, you kind of have to realize, okay, like, we need to swap it up, find something else, because they got it underneath the bridge at maybe like 3.5 minutes, and then after that, they got like 5 meters, and that was it for the entire round.
And this is kind of scary too, because the Saints took so long to pick their characters that Cheesy's going to be a little bit late to this first initial defense. Okay, just got up with him right now, actually, so never mind. Has arrived a-okay, but you can see, rather than the high ground defense, they're just going to stay in the tunnel. Just going to try and keep it safe there, which, to be fair, considering we see Simplistic now on the Pharah, that may have not necessarily been a bad pick, but look, Lump, instant switch to the Junkrat. In this small tunnel, this is going to be rough.
Yeah, I really think this St. Clair is going to struggle down here with this Junkrat now available. Lump's going to be doing so much damage to them. The purple's going to be huge. Also going to find Sage Mage, though, in the backline. Somehow gets that pick. That means they'll be able to push them back here. Lump going to get Bailable, though. That's a huge pick. That means Bailable going to have to start all the way back at the spawn. It's going to be a really long time before he comes back. Lump just doing so much damage in this fight. Able to shove St. Clair out of this tunnel completely. Lump finds one. Simplistic finds another. GCL is going to get Orisa.
Oh my.
But it's not going to matter. They're stuck in a bad place down there right now. GCL is going to get taken out. on his lonesome, and Simplistic going to get cheesy, and they have just a couple more meters to push here. St.
That's
Clair
it.
with
That's
just about no hope, and that's going to mean Bailable going down. The Wrecking Ball coming out just to delay a little bit longer, but he's going to get slapped on his way to the site, and he's going to fall asleep while his team loses the game. No, he holds it for a second, but it doesn't matter.
Wow.
Ottawa University of Kansas take game number 2 and complete the reverse sweep and take the series.
Absolutely incredible stuff coming out of Ottawa University of Kansas. This is exactly why we said do not sleep on this team due to their record, because they just absolutely flicked the switch and became absolutely insane. This is one of the final defensive pushes here. We'll see if we get to see this whole play of the game this time by. Yeah, as the overtime is ticking down, Graviton fully charged Zarya for the most part. Tons of damage, tons of aerial denial, and tons of upset Saints, I'm sure, in the nest right here, right now, after a massive comeback from OU.
I mean, I got to bring it all back to Saged Mage in that round number 2. Like, when you lose the first 2 control points 100-0, 100-0, and then you lose that first hybrid map with 4.5 minutes left, you got to be thinking, okay, like, the series is over. All they have to do is just stop us once. But Sage Mage pushed through, switched onto the Zenyatta. It looked unbelievable, played so well in that hybrid round. And we saw, I think, for me, definitely on Gibraltar, like, Simplistic was so good, got so many good picks with that Tracer, and was exactly the backline DPS you needed. And it's just those star players coming out in those clutch moments. And I mean, Overwatch, again, we've said it so many times, it's such a team game, but when you have those players that step up when they need to, it makes such a big difference. And you see they complete the reverse sweep, and I mean, it feels like St. Clair was just flat on their feet for that last map.
And it wasn't necessarily that, like, yes, like, Sage Mage was playing absolutely crazy. Even though I'd say, like, the last couple rounds there, Simplified, went absolutely nuts as well. But just, you just played very, very smart. This, like, that last attack, I can't stress it enough. Like, Lump was on, I think, an Ashe at that point, looking for, like, a more long-range attacking game, maybe try to shoot at the high grounds. But the Saints were there. Insta-switch over to the Junkrat, and then everybody from OU ready to get into their face. And to be honest, that ending there, they shoved all of the Saints into that little corridor, and this is where Lump is just getting, like, so excited, because all these grenades, firing out the grenade launcher into such a small area, like nitro cells basically for days.
So much DPS spam. So much DPS spam.
Exactly what you dream of as a Junkrat main, and it's just very smart, intelligent play there from OU. They made the composition switches they needed to. They changed their play style to adjust to it, and absolutely dominated game 2 and 3.
Yeah, I mean, I totally underestimated them. After game 1, I had totally written them off and said, okay, like, they didn't even get, they got maybe a couple kills in that first game, and after that, they got nothing. So I was like, okay, going into game 2, like, clearly St. Clair looking really good, and the momentum was all in their favor, but really, really well played. Really good job by the team coordination, finding out, this is what works for us, this is what we need to swap to. And like we said, you remember said when Torbjorn came out, we're like, Torbjorn can be kind of a troll pick, but it worked so well for them on that hybrid map that they just kept rolling with it, and they were able to not only stop them on the defense, but they did so well on the offense in that overtime.
Yeah, because it's troll if you just pick it completely blindly without, like, really thinking about it. But the way they used it was so cool. They put the turret basically up at the front to, like, do poke damage towards the front line and the death ball. But then you saw Simplified, his back was turned to the main fight. He was always looking for Bailable or looking for Cheesy on the flank. And anytime it was a close range battle, of course, that Torbjorn shotgun blast does a ton of damage. So it was essentially putting the DPS on the Saints, like, waiting for everybody else to make a move, but yet they were held up too. So it just stalled out so much time, and it was just beautiful.
I'm very surprised, though. I have to say, I'm very surprised we didn't see a Reaper out of St. Clair. I feel like that could have solved a lot of their problems going into that game, because you can get that backline access with the Shadow Step, and you fight a lot easier against something like the Winston Zarya, and even access to the Torbjorn you can get a lot easier. So I mean, I was kind of surprised I didn't see a Reaper, because I feel like the Tracer just really wasn't working for St. Clair. Bailable just not able to do a lot with it. But I mean, regardless, I think OUK just kind of put them on their backs and said, okay, what are you going to do against this comp? You have nothing.
Yeah, which, to be fair, they did try it on that very last hold, but then it was stuck in the corridor against a Junkrat. I mean, whether it's the right pick or not, positioning was not there for the last second Junkrat switch. And to be fair, the Saints couldn't have, like, made a switch to like compensate the Junkrat. They would have had no time. There would have been no time. They would have had to switch positionally at most, but you didn't let them. So beautifully done.
That's going to be it. OU take the series 2-1. Absolute banger. Beautiful reverse sweep by them. But that's going to be it for today. We have our sponsors that we want to shout out real quick before we go. Crunchyroll, our new sponsor. You can get a 14-day premium trial of Crunchyroll for free at crunchyroll.com/saints. And as Jackson says, Crunchyroll, essentially the Netflix of anime. Beautiful catchphrase, and gave me the thumbs up. So, yeah, shout out to them. And our other sponsors as well, Tim Hortons, Subway, the SRC, and the St. Clair College Alumni Association. Couldn't do what we do without you guys. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. And of course, big thank yous to everybody working in the behind the scenes roles here for the broadcast today. Of course, Jackson was on the director's chair here today. We had Ashton picking up Overwatch, observing, doing an awesome job. And of course, thank you, John, for doing the commentary here with me today. It's been a long time, so it's awesome to
feels good.
Have you.
Feels good. And it feels good that it wasn't. We were predicting a 3-0 complete sweep after that first game, but it turned out to be a really good series. So exciting for that. And before we go, we want to show you the merch too. Can't forget about our merch. So you can get t-shirts, jackets, hoodies, crew necks. You can get a jersey with your own name on the back, and that feels pretty cool when you're cheering for St. Clair. So you can go to acquire.ca/saints, get yourself some nice merch. I know we got some coming in for some people here sometime soon. I got my mask a couple of days ago, and I really like it. So yeah, get yourself some merch. But that's going to be it for us for this stream. St. Clair loses the game 2-1, a really good series, really good fight there. Hopefully can get a step back up sometime in the next game, because, I mean, their last couple of games definitely been looking a little bit shakier. This one, I think, again, like we said, they have a sub, so they are still trying to work it out between the sub there, but definitely going to try and improve some stuff. But that's going to be it.
Yeah.
All right, any last notes?
Well, just a last little touch up there. Like, I don't even think, to be honest, like, the roster swapping really had anything to do with the kind of things that we saw. It's not like anybody was getting like out of position to pick, like getting picked off and whatnot. It was just everybody seemed out of position. Yeah. And after game one, like you could tell that some of those maps were a little bit more practiced than others. Like we never see Numbani, we never see Watch Point Gibraltar, but we do sometimes see Nepal. So like that didn't really like shake the Saints that much, but those other two. If there's any reason why we've seen such a massive flip, I'm guessing that's probably why. And the next time that you'll join us here for the broadcasting, oddly enough, we don't have any broadcasts happening tomorrow, nothing for Friday. However, be sure to join us 3 o'clock on Saturday as our first CLOL Collegiate League of Legends playoff match is going to be underway. Best of 5 action. It's going to be fun. So it's going to be an amazing one. And it's supposed to be a close match on paper. So we'll have to see what happens there.
I believe it.
But with that, yeah, I think we're all set to close on out for the night.
Alrighty, sounds good. John Billbangs Udima, joined by Mr. Danners himself. Always appreciate you being here with me. And that's going to be it. Have a good night, and thank you all for coming out. See you on Saturday.
Probably one more attack to try and get this back.
There are 3 ults available for St. Clair, as well as this Baptiste ult coming out very soon. That's going to be self-destruct coming out from St. Clair. It's going to find a shatter as well. Arjunk going to get lumped there, and Apostle is going to get one with the Fire Strike. Arjunk will take out Toki, and it seems like St. Clair will be able to clean up the site pretty well. And I mean, honestly, that entire site actually has his ult up very soon available. And then the first kill on Tyrell, though, that tank line going to be severely weakened here to start us off. Cheesy going to get simplistic with a nice flash bomb and that, or flashbang, and that's going to mean St. Clair will get a control at this point in just a second. They will route the rest of OUK off of this one, and they will be able to start again taking control of the site. Easy, just to force them off this point very, very early. You get a lot of extra damage if you put that Deadeye through a window. So that's going to be a Maywall up and a Blizzard available for Available as well, but it's not going to matter because Postle's going to get 2 with that strike, and Arjun cleaning up Tyrell means this push again is just going to be stalled before it can even be started.
Shredded down once again.
So you're building up. You see now, there's the only person on St. Clair who doesn't have ult is going to be Arjunk. Everyone else does. That's going to be a Deadeye pulled out here. Going to try and find some heads. Not going to catch anyone though. Shield is going to be shredded. That's going to mean St. Clair can use the rest of that ult. Blizzard going to do so much damage to you. Okay here, and they're going to be wiped. And yet again, St. Clair able
to be the secondary off tank as he is, and just kind of eat up a little bit. And to be fair, they were able to gobble up both of the DPS players on the side of Ottawa University. So now Available slowly but surely finding the rest of these eliminations. Tyrell is still here, but that's a lot of Saints on point, and you're purpled. You can't be healed. And Apostle's just going to run occasional switch up for this spot. I know the standard solo queue pirate ship is sometimes a favorite here, but do not need to switch in this case here. Cheesy gonna melt down the other Echo here. Hard jump from backline finds some damage as well as Apostle and G-Scales, showing they have a bunch of damage too. They're not just for absorbing.
Flank on the back end here. They're gonna have to be aware of this and to make them split their decision making where they want to go.
I mean, we're going to see the grab time in just a second here, especially if they all kind of stand in like that. That is going to be a massive grab. Going to get everybody all taken down. The purple on top of things there for Arjun as well. No healing for you this time by everybody on the side of Ottawa University except Simplicity.
Echo changing in. That's going to be a nice change there. Available going to get Pokey as well on that Brigitte, and that's going to mean they will have a nice job on point here to be able to take this. And Nano also available. That's going to be Arjun throwing out the Nano, boosting people up, but that's going to be Simplistic actually taking out G-Scales, but it doesn't matter.
There we go.
They clean them all up, and St. Clair should be able to take this one.
Is that a Nan? Kind of low on health. He can't really make most of it in terms of damage. That being said, Aussie utility go down, but that's a hell of a shatter coming out here from Tyrell, but that did get stunned up. The big boulder in Archuk barely keeping Cheesy alive, but does end up going down. It's Cheesy versus the world here, and honestly, Ottawa University of Kansas.
Both teams is going to be a little bit of damage on Available, but he is going to survive here. The moment going to finally let go, but not going to do anything to that front line. Nice Ryan shield there, keeps him alive, but Lump gets Apostle there. That's going to be a lot of ults being used here. Lump going to find one, Sir going to find another, and St. Clair is just falling apart right now. They can't defend this push on site. Simplistic's turret going to find Bailable. That's going to be recommended. That bunker will be bye-bye in just 1 second. I think it'll make it a lot easier for St. Clair to handle this one. We'll see if they're able to make it work, because it's worked for the last couple rounds for them, so I wouldn't be surprised if it works again.
Yeah, I mean, with the side of this Junkrat here on the side of St. Clair, with the side of OU just constant.
With still a minute remaining here, so he could pick up 2 ultimates in this round in just 2 minutes.
Going quickly here, got Bailable and Cheesy on basically 2 separate sides. The crossfire right now here for St. Clair is too much to deal with. Ottawa University going to probably fall again, but it's not without any casualty here for
coming down as well. That's gonna be so much damage. Transcendent's gonna come through. A trade gonna come through as well. Cheesy gonna get taken down by Stage Mage, but a trade by Apostle means they're gonna all in on this fight on site. A beautiful shatter on site means they will be able to defend this for now. Debatable gonna get one, but Tyrell gonna get Ubel and Lump gonna get Arja. It means that they'll actually take this one and can potentially, as soon as the ults come out, I mean 4 or 5 gonna be built for Ottawa University sometime soon. I just feel like it's gonna be hard, but that's gonna be Simplistic. Finding Ubel with the bomb of his own, gonna find Apostle as well. Lump gonna find Bailable, and that means St. Clair has to turn around and restart this push again.
Yep, so like a rally and a pulse bomb, 2 ultimates that come up very quickly. Fired off in just a second, does get into the action, and a little bit chaotic to say the least, but you can see one thing is for sure, and that's Ottawa University are absolutely popping off here on this defense.
They have absolutely torn apart St. Clair. St. Clair has looked like a completely different team than we saw in the first half of this game. While staying on the site, staying alive for quite a while, but Lump gonna take out Bailable. The Ash wins that Ash 1v1 Sir. Gonna take out Ubel as well, but Apostle finally gonna find one on the support, but Tyrell with the ult. Bailable is gonna clear everyone off this point. That's gonna be a Nano. Zyra with the Graviton. G-Scales is in the wrong place. That's the center of death right there, and that's going to mean they will take Holy back to the spawn. It's going to be a really long time before he comes back. Lump just doing so much damage in this fight. Able to shove St. Clair out of this tunnel completely. Lump finds one, Simplistic finds another. G-Scale is going to get Orisa.
Oh my.
It's not going to matter. They're stuck in a bad place down there right now. G-Scale is going to get taken out on his lonesome, and Simplistic going to get Cheesy, and they have just a couple more meters.